G'day Trailblazers, my name is Cam, and for today's video I'm going to show you how to create an automated data extension filter, which you can refresh in Automation Studio using Salesforce Marketing Cloud. So a data extension filter in Salesforce Marketing Cloud allows you to filter the records in one of your data extensions by using an interface to choose which records to include or exclude. However, these filters have to be refreshed manually, which can be a bit difficult. What you can do though, is you can jump into Automation Studio and create a filter activity, specifying one of those data extension filters and scheduling it using one of your automations. This can be really useful for refreshing your main customer lists or perhaps criteria for your journeys. So let me show you how this works. So the first thing we need today is a data extension with some data in it to filter. Now I've gone ahead and created a 5,000 simple records list. And I'll put a link to this file in the description below so you can go and download it for yourself. And to download this file, simply click on the raw button here. When you do, it shows the raw CSV file. You can then simply right click and go save as. Save the file to your desktop, which you can then upload into Marketing Cloud later on. Back in Marketing Cloud, we now need to make a data extension to upload the file into. So let's go create a new data extension, make a standard data extension, and we'll call this one the DE2Filter. Now our DE2Filter has a few columns, and it's best to keep the same names as our sample data file. So our first one will be the GUID, which will be our unique record for each customer. We then need the first name, which is a text field, the surname, also a text field. We then have the DOB for date of birth, which will be a date field. So name, date field of course, and then the postcode. And one last field, the suburb. Perfect. Now with all these fields filled out, let's make them nullable just to make sure they can be imported easily. And we'll leave it as that and go create. That's our data extension built. Now we can import our data. So we can navigate to our data extension and we can find our import button here and click on import. If the file has been downloaded to your desktop, you can simply browse to that file, finding where you've downloaded it to, and go open. Once you've chosen that file, we can choose the import type as the overwrite, since there is no data in there currently. Now, the date format I've chosen today, of course, is Australian, as I am Australian, but you can use any date format you like because the data in this file uses the year, month, day format, so it will work for any date format that you choose. For now though, I'll leave the rest of the settings as they are and go next. We should be able to import these files using the header name in that file. So as you can see here, mapped by header row, that's mapped up all those fields perfectly. So with that done, we'll go next and then we'll choose to import. And after a few seconds, I can see that the file has been uploaded and my data extension now has all 5,000 records in it. Now our next step is to create a filter. So the first thing we can do is scroll to the side here and choose our filter. What this is going to do, it's going to choose the data extension. You can see here the source is this data extension to filter. That's now going to give us this interface to choose our criteria for. What I'll do for today is I want to try and find a filter of all customers whose date of birth is today. So lucky for me, I've got a date of birth field. So I can drag and drop that into my data extension. I'm going to say where the date of birth is equal to today. Well, no, I don't want those customers who are born today. I want those customers who are an anniversary of today. So if I can choose here for my date of birth is anniversary of today. And there we are. This will very simply make a filter of all the customers in my 5,000 customer list whose anniversary of their date of birth is today. Now with that done, I can go save and build and make this a DOB today data extension. Now I'll go save just to make sure that my filter works. So I'm testing this out to start with. I've got my 5,000 records and how many of those records have a date of birth of today. Well, we'll give it a second to process and hopefully we see a few of my test records have a birthday of today. And after a few seconds, the filter completed and I can see 14 records have today's birthday. So if I check on my records, I can see their date of birth is the 3rd of Jan, and of course the American time for right now is the 3rd of Jan. Perfect. So we do in fact have 14 records for today's date of birth. So my filter works. My next step now is to save this, not as a data extension, but save the filter as a filter. So I can go down here and choose my save as filter. Now I could have, if I'd gone back to my data extensions, also gone into my filter data extension, clicked on that filter, and you can see here my filter rule. And I can choose to save this as a filter. And by choosing this button, I can now save this as my DE-DOB filter. I can choose to save it into my data filters. And I'll go save. And simple as that, I've now got my date of birth filter saved as a filter in my data extension filters. And I can check it out for myself by now going back into my folders and having a look in my data filters. And sure enough, I've got my DE-DOB filter created. So with my data extension filter created, I can now jump into Automation Studio and create my automated data filter. So the first thing I'll do is jump up to my overview here and click on the Activities tab. On the Activities tab, I'll then click to create a new activity. Now on this screen, I'll choose the filter activity and then choose Next. I can choose a name for my activity. I'll call this one the DOB Automated Filter Activity. I'm going to choose, of course, to use my DE-DOB filter that I just created. I can check here in my definition details. I did just create it. I can then go Next. On the next screen, I can choose how to build a data extension from this filter. Now I call this one the Auto DOB DE. I'll then choose Next. And on my summary here, it shows I'm going to use my brand new automated filter activity using the filter I created to make a data extension called Auto DOB DE. So I'll go Finish. And with the activity created, I can now jump back into my overview and create myself a brand new automation. I'll choose New Automation and choose to make a new scheduled automation. I can simply now drag and drop in my filter activity. I can choose my filter activity and choose my brand new DOB automated filter activity, and then go Done. You can see here, this is my new automated filter. Now for my schedule, I can choose how often to rerun this activity. And because it is a date of birth activity for this example, I can choose to configure it to run once a day. So I'll choose it to run from tomorrow, starting at 4 in the morning. Let's choose it to run every day, ending never. And I can choose Done. And so now this automation, which will be my daily DOB automation, is going to run every day at 4 AM to rebuild this data extension with all the records whose date of birth is today. So I'll click on Save to save my automation, and let's try it out for ourselves by choosing the Run Once option, choosing our brand new filter activity, and we'll choose Run. And the automation has completed with the filter running in just 5 seconds. So we can now jump back into our data extension folders and go into the location of the original source data extension, my demos folder, and hopefully we have a Auto DE data extension. There it is there. You can see it was just now created and it has our 14 records, the same as our test version. Perfect. And that's how easy it is to make an automated data extension filter in Salesforce Marketing Cloud. Now you can of course do more than just a date of birth filter in this activity. You could use it with your measures to listen to recent sends, opens or clicks, to retarget your subscribers as you need. You could also use the data relationships to target additional data extensions to filter records who, for example, could have purchased your products recently. And if you enjoyed today's video, please make sure you leave a big thumbs up and a comment below. And don't forget that you can subscribe to the channel so that you are notified when I release more Salesforce Marketing Cloud content.